Hey everyone, it's Jason. Turtle Power. So this is an unboxing for the Dicemasters Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Heroes in a Half Shell box set. So if you're at all familiar with Dicemasters, they started out with DC or Marvel. I think they started with Marvel, and I think then they went to DC. I'm not sure which came. I don't know which chicken or egg came first, but they have Marvel and DC to begin with, and then they started incorporating other IPs, and they went to Dungeons and Dragons, which still has a decent number of sets, and then they did like one set of Yu-Gi-Oh, which kind of bombed, so they abandoned it. They have Warhammer 40k, a bunch of stuff coming out for that currently. The WWE has a bunch of stuff. And what's interesting is because all these different sets, you can potentially mix and match. But because like D&D adds like fractions and factions and stuff like that, and the wrestling I'm sure adds a little twist, and the keywords work a little bit differently. Like you can mix them, they just sometimes the cards might not work as well. Even from Marvel to DC, some of the characters and cards might not work as well because, like, obviously if you have, like, I gain a bonus from the Batman characters and you're playing, like, one Batman with, like, 4 other Marvel characters, then you're not going to gain them Batman bonuses. But then they made the Ninja Turtles. The only reason I mention all these other IPs is because the other sets all came in, like, starter decks and then, like, the booster packs you could buy and, like, special things. The Turtles only came in one of these big giant boxes. So it has there's 92 custom dice, 62 cards, rule books, playmats, dice bags, a tray to hold all the different dice. And it encompasses and we'll see, as you can kind of see here, it encompasses different versions of the Ninja Turtles, but they only put it in one of these big boxes. You can't go out and buy random packs, which is kind of cool. Because in that way, you're like, I bought this, I have the Turtles. And then they made a second set, which is the, which I'm not sure. The Heroes in a Half Shell may be the second one. This might have been the first one. I'm not sure which came first. Do they have a date on here, maybe? 2016 versus 2016, so no, they don't. So I don't know which one came first. One of these came out, then the other one came out. Or maybe they were released fairly simultaneously. I'm not sure. So I've had this one before, and I've already opened it up, so everything's unpackaged. So we're going to look at that one too, but I want to go through this one first with the old 80s cartoon characters. Because I haven't seen this one before, so this is like a true unboxing. They do make, I think they're called like campaign boxes. They're very similar to this for the like Marvel and DC sets, and I think Warhammer had one. I don't know if any of the other ones do. They might. I haven't seen them. But basically, so you have a dice tray to play your tray and stuff with your cards. It comes with essentially like a starter set plus, and you get like 10 characters or whatever to start with, and the tray and all the stuff you need. So they make these for other things. So if you're just looking for a good dice tray, you can probably buy one of them. So yeah, we're gonna have a bunch of different stuff in here, and I'm gonna kind of just gloss over how the game is played. I'm not gonna go into too much depth. But here we have some like basic common dice with little pawn symbols and various icons which you use to pay. They have like fists, electric, shields, and masks. And then question marks. You use these to pay for your various abilities. But what this is it's a dice building game. So it's like a deck building game. You start off with a bunch of generic dice. And then so basically here, each player gets to pick a character, and then they have some common cards, and then you do is you have your dice on these cards, and you roll these white generic dice, and they will let you buy dice off your cards to put in your dice bag. And then next time you roll, instead of only getting, so if you like pick out 5 dice, example, Instead of getting 5 common dice, you could get 4 common dice and a Donatello die. Or you could buy one of these action dice that you do something else. And then you just keep doing that. You roll a dice, and then you put them out, and they can either get symbols to buy things, to either purchase more dice, or if you roll one of your heroes' sides, you can recruit them for attacking. So they're going to show like they have a fielding cost of 1, so you have to pay 1 point to play it, and then they have an attack and a defense. And then here it's just showing how it attacks. So like, if these characters attack, they deal damage to each other. So, like this Split Soldier's attacking April Box. They have 1 attack, 1 defense. So she's going to do 1 damage to her 4 defense, and she's going to do 2 to his, so she'll defeat that Foot Soldier. Then now these are 3 in 1, so this 1 pawn will deal 1 damage. I'm guessing that's possibly Karai. I'm not sure. I'm worried about it. This pawn will deal 1 damage to this black dice, which will defeat that, but it'll do 3 damage back. And then they're also blocking with this Donatello. So now they have the option of either dealing their 3 damage all to this 1 die and just taking out the pawn, or they could deal 3 damage to Donatello and take out Donatello. And then this has not blocks, it just does straight damage. Just kind of interesting. And like when you go to attack, it's like Magic the Gathering. You attack the other player, and then they can decide. They can decide whether they want to defend or not. And again, I'm not going to go super through every single thing here. But just saying, you roll these, and you can buy points, buy characters, and then you roll them again. If you like this time, they rolled just April, and now they can spend 1 point to put their April out and actually use her for attacking. And that's how you gotta buy more and more characters and more dice. It's like a fairly interesting game. And again, I think like this Turtle Box is a good way, if you're a fan of the Ninja Turtles, obviously. If not, if you're Marvel or DC, go buy a Marvel or DC one. But it's definitely an interesting way to like to buy it and have like a full set. You can buy a starter deck as well, but then this is kind of nice because it comes with all the dice holders and a place to hold your cards. So I could buy this and I'd be like, okay, that was super fun. You can put it back on, essentially treat it more of like a board game versus like, you know, like Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you buy the cards and you have to buy a deck box and all that. So here's like your field. So there's a lot on here, but it's just sort of the way everything works. Is when you roll your dice, you have your dice bag down here. You draw 4 dice at the end of the clear and draw step. So you draw dice, you roll them in here, and then you gotta decide that you can pay for them, you can put them up into the field, and then you move them in, and they can attack. If they're unblocked, they go to this used pile. And then it comes back down here eventually, and you can reuse them again. So if they're unblocked, so your opponent doesn't have block like your cheap 1 cost or your 1 attack thing, and it goes to your used pile, and then it just sits there. It says move all dice from the bag is empty. So it'll sit there until you run out of dice. So it's a good way to be like, okay, they're attacking with this 3 cost shredder. I'm just gonna take the damage. Because then they can't use him anymore until it goes back into their dice bag. Then they have to hopefully redraw him, and then re-roll him again, and repay for him. So sometimes letting the damage go through helps, because then they don't have to deal with that card anymore. Otherwise, unspent stuff goes back in there. Otherwise, if it goes up here, so like if the dice get knocked out for whatever reason, they go into your prep area, and then they come back in. So it's a thing like, sometimes it's worth just sacrificing a character because then they go back into your reserve pool, which, yes, you have to re-roll them, so you don't get to keep that character, but you have the chance of getting that character out right away. So it's kind of a neat, it seems very complicated, but it's not. But it's kind of cool that they give you these little things. The regular instruction booklets and the, like, starter decks are, like, a little bit bigger, but they're on, like, in the booklet. So you have to, I have to fold the booklet out, lay the book down, and they're like, wait, I have to check a rule. And you're like, but all my dice are on the book. So it's kind of neat that they gave these little pictures. Plus, they're kind of cool pictures. You have Mikey versus Bebop, Donnie versus Rocksteady, Raphael fighting Crane, and Leo fighting Shredder. So it's actually kind of neat that they had little pictures for all of them. They're all color-coded kind of on the bottom. Orange, purple, red, blue. So you can hang them off to whoever likes whichever character. Yeah, so that's that. Here are your action dice. So these go to, they have your character cards and they have basic cards, and these go to on all your basic cards, which provide basic energy instead of, one with a symbol. Or they have these exclamation points, which activate a basic card ability. And then we have these fun little dice bags. When I bought this game, I bought cloth bags because they have these little bags. I feel like they're gonna rip kind of. They're not gonna rip super easy. They're actually pretty durable. They're not just regular paper, but I also feel like you're gonna kind of stick your dice in there and kind of shuffle them out this way versus actually sticking your hand in there. But it's still neat that they included them, so that way you have the dice bags to play. So you have one for each turtle. A Mikey. We have a blue Leo with swords on the back. Again, it's a neat box just because it has all the stuff you need to play the game, and looks like they've learned some of the lessons from the original games, or from the original sets. And then we have a bunch of dice. So here's what I like to do whenever I so I have all the cards here. And when you buy a pack, like a regular pack of these, you're gonna have 2 dice and 2 cards. So 1 die for each card. So here we're gonna get 3 dice per every character. So again, this is a nice way to versus having a booster where if I buy a booster, I'm like, cool, I got a Batman, but I only have 1 die, so I can only play 1. Here you always have 3, no matter what. So you actually have some good options. But when you also, and then here's some interesting dividers, and we'll get to those when I get to those cards. When you buy a booster pack, what I always like to do is I like to look at the dice and see if I can tell who the characters are from looking at the dice versus if I look at the character, if I look at the actual card, to see if I can be like, ooh, what symbol is that? And since we know these are all Ninja Turtles, they're all should be fairly recognizable. So here we have I'm trying to see if I can get this to focus in at all. So there we have a hockey mask. That's clearly Casey Jones. And then, that's just neat about this dice tray. They're going to set it like that. And then you'll put this plastic cover on there and they won't bounce around. Now, that's sort of weird is it holds 5 dice and you have 3. So you're not going to have them all necessarily in a row. I'm going to see if I can find Casey Jones's cards. Alright, and then we can look at the cards, and then after I've kind of explained it, we can kind of fly through these a little bit quicker. So I have 3 Casey Jones cards. And normally in the regular game, this line here is going to say what your rarity is, but these guys should all have the exact same rarity. It's going to have a max size on there. That's how many dice you can put on the card. So they only have 3, which is how many dice you have. In the regular other games, the Marvel and DC and stuff, most characters have a max of 4. Unless it's a super rare or unique type character, then they usually have 1 or 2. As you can see, all the artwork is the same. So they keep the same artwork for all 3 cards, so you know that that's this set's version of Casey Jones. But they have different costs and stuff. So if you want to play him, you have to spend 2 points. At least 1 has to be a fist. So the first one we have is Casey Jones Penalty Box. So this is kind of the like older Mirage comics. When Casey Jones kills a sidekick guy, he gains 1 life. So that's pretty cool. And then Global, pay 1 fist. Target sidekick character guy must block this turn if able. So Global is just an ability that anyone can spend. I think he might, maybe only he can spend, but he can spend it to affect anything. I don't remember the exact part for Global. But there's just different. So this is what his die is going to look like. It's going to have 1 side for each of these. So you're going to have a side that has 2 attack, 2 defense that costs 0 to play, a 3/3 that costs 1, or a 2 that costs 4. And there are ways to like level up your die, and then you just spin it to the next side, and that's kind of helpful on here, so you know what's the next side, because it's not always 0, 1, 2. Sometimes it could be 0, 0, 2, or it could be 1, 1, 3. Alright, and then we have Broken Home. Casey Jones can block up to 3 character die with the purchase cost of 2 or less. So basically he can take out a bunch of thugs, is the idea. And then Gungala. Casey Jones can be blocked by character die with a purchase cost of 2 or less. So now this is what's interesting. When you play this game, if like I want to play Casey Jones, you can only pick 1 of these 3 Casey Jones cards. So you can't have 2 different Casey Jones out and then pick which one. So it's any Casey Jones regardless of what's below it. So even if like the other set has like the animated Casey Jones, I can't pick that Casey Jones and this one. I just have different options. But you kind of got what, you know, like you have different versions. You can have like if I need a lower cost character or a higher cost character. All his dice are going to be the same regardless. But here it lets him, if he takes out a guy, he gains some life. This one lets him block multiple guys that are cheap. Where this one says he can't be blocked by cheap guys. So it's either, do I need someone that can take out a bunch of the cheap characters, or do I want someone that can just walk by all the cheap characters? So it's an interesting, like, dynamic. Like, what do you want to do? So now we're going to go through, let's look at the turtles, because they're going to be fairly recognizable. And I'm not going to take all of these out of the bag right now. So here we have, obviously, purple and green is Donatello. So now if we look at all of the turtles, I'm just going to pull them all out quick. So we have red with green, which is Raphael. I'm trying to see if I can find one with a picture of him. So we have blue and green. So you can tell it's Leonardo. You can see his sword there. And then we have Michelangelo, which is orange and green. So they kept like the theming of like they have a green on the inside with their main color on the outside for the 4 turtles. So let's look at the 4 turtles. So now in the stack of deck, they have them all alphabetical. So I kind of gotta search for them. Now Donatello has a team ability of the turtles. So he's actually a little bit more expensive. He costs 5. So again, you only can have one of these Donatellos, but like you might pick like then that one of them cheaper Casey Jones to go with it. Otherwise, if you have all 4 turtles and they all cost 5, you're gonna struggle to get 5 energy points consistently in a row without buying something else. Or you're gonna maybe lose the game before you get 5 out every turn. Whereas if you have like a 2 cost character and a 3 cost character, you could maybe purchase them and at least use them for defending. So you have Donatello, intellectually inclined. When Donatello attacks, you may pay an energy, the lightning bolt, to deal 2 damage to target character, guy, or opponent. And then he's got like a 0 cost, a 1 cost, and a 2 cost. Fairly basic stats are like the same up and down. His next level would be technological. When Donatello attacks, deal 1 damage to target opponent for each other active turtle character you control. So you have one where you can pay to deal 2 damage to an extra character, or one where you're just automatically going to do extra, but you have to have more turtle characters out. And that Casey Jones did not have a team ability, so he is not part of the Ninja Turtles. Now they might make like if they make like more expansions to this game at some point, like the IDW one would probably be a turtle character, just because he was more related. But like the 80s one and the Mirage one, he was more of just like a vigilante that helped them, but he wasn't really like their friend. And then we have Donatello. Notice me. So he has turtle powers as a special keyword ability. When Donatello is active, other turtle characters' dice cost one less to purchase to a minimum of one. Oh, so that helps out. So if you get him out, then he makes everyone else a little bit cheaper. Alright, let's look at our next Ninja Turtle. We have Donatello doing machines. We have Leonardo who leads. Leonardo, Plight of the Eldest. So he has some more varying stats. So he has a 1, 1, and a 2. So he doesn't have a free character die. But it's a 4-2, a 5-4, and a 6-4. So he has a lot more attack than defense. Where Donnie was balanced, Leonardo goes more on the attack. And his are all 5 as well. So when Leonardo attacks, you may pay 1 fist to deal 2 damage to target character or opponents. It's the same as Donatello's, just he uses a fist instead of the lightning bolt. He also has Fearless Leader, Turtle Power. When Leonardo is active, other turtle characters cost 1 less die. So same thing there. And then he has Multi-Folded Steel. When Leonardo is active, whenever a turtle character die is KO'd, deal 1 damage to target opponent. So he has 2 cards that are one that's the exact same, one that's the same but with a different cost, and then he has one here that's completely different. So he gets to do, if one of your turtle characters is KO'd, you get to deal extra damage. So you can kind of figure out what route you want to go. We have Michelangelo, the party dude. So his stats are 4-2, 4-4, and 5-5. So he starts a little aggressive, then he kind of evens out. But again, no free guy like Donatello did. Still all 5s. Insatiable Appetite. When Michelangelo attacks, you may pay 1 mask to deal 2 damage to target character die or opponent. So same as the other one, just uses that. He also has the turtle power. Booyakasha. So he gains all the other turtles cost 1 less. And then he has Chuck and Chuck 2, the sequel. While Michelangelo is active, whenever a villain character die KOs a turtle character die, KO that character die. Or the villain die. It goes to the unused pile instead of the prep area. So that's interesting. So Leonardo's is like, you KO one of my fellow turtles, I'm going to deal damage back to you. Michelangelo is like, you KO one of my turtles friends, I'm KOing you. And then, I forgot. Now I want to see what Donatello's did. When he attacks, he deals 1 damage to the opponent for each other active. So basically, the other 2 are gaining bonuses for guys being KO'd. Donatello is gaining bonuses if they stay in play. So as long as you have more characters. So now it's kind of an interesting thing if you're playing with all 4 turtles. So if you had all 4 turtles out, Donatello would be a lot more powerful. But then as characters get KO'd, which they're going to, you're going to have to sacrifice them. But you get to replay them and re-roll them. He's going to, the other 2 characters are going to like step in and like help out. So we have Raphael, who has Night Watcher. So he pays 1 shield to do 2 damage, same as the other one. So now he also has a 0, but he has 2-4, 3-5, and 4-6. He's the opposite of Leo. He has a lot more defense. Which almost seems backwards if you ask me, as I think Raphael would, I get he can maybe take more damage, do more of a, but he seems more of like the attacker, and Leonardo seems more of like the blocker, because he seems more like, I'm going to be more reserved, and I would block, like I would watch and not do damage, or Raph would be like, I'm going to go in head first. But it kind of makes sense that they're weapons. The sword's going to be more of an offensive weapon. The sides are more of a defensive weapon. Raphael controlling his temper. So his turtle power, they all cost 1 less. So again, you have, these 5 costs are heavy, but if you play one, you manage to get 1 Raphael out. The other turtles are all cost 4. You get a second one of these out, right? Then they all cost 3. You get a third one out. The other one's gonna cost 2. So and again, you can have multiple of dice on each one of these cards. So I mean, each one's gonna keep costing less, as long as those characters are out. But the only problem is if you put all 4 of these versions in there, you're not gaining any of the other abilities. So it's kind of you might want to put 1 in there to make them a little bit easier. Alright, so while Raph is active, turtle character die you control cannot be targeted by opposing dice or global actions. Okay, so Mikey and Leo both help if they're KO'd. Raph and Donatello help while they're active. So you have Raphael's second son. So that's some interesting dynamics between them. Alright, let's look at some other characters. So here we've seen from the book, we have April O'Neil. It's kind of an odd-looking April, and here is why. Because, I mean, it might not instantly be recognizable as April. Like, I don't think if I'd seen the cards in the book or sitting on top of this deck, I might not have guessed that. Because this is the Nickelodeon version of April O'Neil, where she's a teenager. So that's why she has the, headband and the ponytail. So she costs 2, but she's not a turtle ally. But it's nice we have a cheaper character. She has ally ability, turtle power. So she makes the turtles cost 1 less. Again, you could throw her in to help out. She's got 0 cost, 1/1, 2/2, and 2/4. On the scene, ally. When April is active, your turtle characters get 2 attack and 2 defense while blocking, or while blocked by a villain character. Okay, so 2 attack while blocking or while blocked by a villain. So if they're blocking someone, they gain a bonus. Or and I think ally just means that she can't attack or be attacked. I'll have to double check that. April, Sixth Sense. When April is active, each turn prevent the first X damage to each April character die from a source where X is the number of active turtles you control. So basically, she boosts the turtles, makes them cheaper, or she can stay out longer if there's more turtles. And then I have the book here. Let's look up what that ally keyword does quick. I assumed, right here. I assumed there was like a thing. Ally. Character dice with the ally ability counters sidekicks, which are the cheapy characters, while also in the field zone. They don't count as sidekick dice when in the bag, prepper, or use pile. So that's, so they get affected by sidekick statuses. Alright, we have a bunch of other dice here. I don't know who is who, so we'll just grab one and we'll look at it. So we have a paw print here. My assumption, being with what characters these are, this is probably Splinter. Now, if this is this came out later after the IDW series was more popular, I would have assumed this was Hob, or Old Hob. But I'm going to guess that is Splinter. It is not. I was wrong. And because it's just they're using characters from the Nickelodeon show, which I have not seen or watched much of. So this is Tiger Claw. Lost Humanity. So he's actually got some pretty decent stats here. Not a lot of defense, but some good high attack. He's a villain. They just use a generic villain symbolist is the same one used in Marvel and DC. Versus having to try and come up with a team villain ability, I guess. So when fielded, deal 3 damage to each opposing character. Oh boy. So when he comes in, he's going to do 3 damage, but he costs 7, so he's not going to get played super. I mean, he costs 7 to buy, and then you put him in your bag, but it only costs 1 or 2 to play. So he's not going to get purchased super early on. He's got a 6 cost version. When fielded, KO target level 1 or 2 character dice. So this is a level 1 and that's a level 2. It's not their cost, it's if they're 1, 2, or 3. So yeah, he comes in, he either does 3, which should take out a lot of characters. This one automatically takes out some no matter what. Krang Experiment. And then he has another 6, which is Seeking Vengeance. When Tiger Claw attacks, deal 2 damage to target opponent. He's just straight up extra 2 damage. Alright, he's pretty badass. But he also costs a lot. Again, you have to find that balance. Alright, here. This is obviously a ghost. I don't know what this is now. I was looking at it when I grabbed it. I thought it was this way, and I thought, okay, maybe that's a Splinter. But the symbol goes this way. And I'm not sure what that is supposed to be a picture of. But we will find it. Oh, I see. And then once you see the character, you're like, duh. They're Triceratons from the Mirage comics. So now I can see that's the tip of their like back part of their head, like their frill, and that's the horn, and that's the other horn. So I thought it was like a weird. I'm like, no, it's Splinter in a dress. Wow. So you have Triceratons. They're kind of just have no special abilities. 3/3, 4/4, 5/5. So pretty much generic villains, henchmen to throw in there. But they only cost 4. You need some of them. Cretaceous Crushers. Orders from Captain Zorak. When Triceraton attacks, it takes 3 attack till the end of turn. Nice. And loyal to a fault, they have Overcrush. I believe Overcrush is if they do damage to a... When attacking, if this character KOs all of its blockers, it deals leftover damage to your opponent. So it's like Magic the Gathering, it's Trample. So that's actually pretty cool. So basically throw him at... So you can't chump block this guy with one of the weak characters. So we know that's a bad guy, we know that's a bad guy. Oh, here we go. I'm going to open this one up. This is probably... One of the other things I love about these guys is you get cool guys like this. They're like translucent. Besides just the pictures being neat. So this looks like Arax, but more than the other one did. The other one did look like more of a creature pod, which I thought was more like Old Hob. So this is probably Splinter. So now, the colors sometimes make a difference too. So like red and yellow, that could be a Splinter color. Well, let's find out, because I have been wrong numerous times already. And boy, am I wrong another time. That is not Splinter. That is Rennick Tilly. Oh, because you see, there's like a weird helmet. And those are arrows. Those aren't, like, finger claws. Which is what I thought they were. She's a time traveler. So this is the Nickelodeon version. She is also in the other comics as well. That's weird. She also has in her hand here, you can't really see it, but it's the Time Scepter. Which, if you've seen Ninja Turtles 3, the live-action movie, Turtles in Time... is that same scepter that is used. Fun fact. When Rennet Tilly is active, you may reroll 1 die, 1 extra time during your reroll and reroll step. Interesting. So you get some extra rerolls. Time manipulation. Guys, Apprentice Timestress. 79th Dimension Null Time. When Rennet Tilly is active, at the end of your roll and reroll step, you may spin any action dice in your zoo pool to a non-energy phase to another phase. You may spin an action dice in your reserve pool on a non-energy phase to any other phase. So your action dice are these guys here. So I think it basically is saying, like, if I rolled 2 generic energy, I could be like, nope, instead, I got an action. You can use one of your abilities. So that's kind of neat. For what it is. Her stats are pretty decent even. 2-2, 3-2, and 3-3. She costs cheap. She only costs 3. She has really low abilities. Impeccable timing. When fielded, you may move a die from your reserve pool to your used pile to roll a different die from your used pile and place it in your reserve pool. So basically, you trade 2 dice. Cool. Again, I don't know if that's a character, unless maybe you watched the Nickelodeon one and you were like, oh, I really liked her as a character. That might not be one that just jumps out at you. Alright, we are running out of characters that are supposed to be splinters. So we have this. Hamburger Head. No, I believe this is Metalhead. The robot turtle. I'm fairly positive. Like, I didn't go through and look at all these to see who all the characters were, so that's why I'm kind of trying to just guess. Alright, this is Metalhead. This is also from the Nickelodeon cartoon. Sort of funny, though, because I do like this, that there's a mixture of the Nickelodeon, the 80s cartoon, and the Mirage comics. Like, they could have just been like, nope, this is all the 80s box, and this is all that. And the second one, this is all the Mirage box. They could have basically made 3 sets of different... But I feel like, by combining them all, then not only does it incentivize you to buy both sets so you can get, different versions of characters from a different thing, but also like, oh, I didn't know that he was in that show, or ooh, that character was cool, maybe I'll check out that version, which I really find is an interesting thing. Just in general, with this entire Dicemasters, you buy stuff and you can be like, oh, that's an interesting picture on that character, let me go check them out. So Metalhead has all 5, 6, and a 5. Which is, I think, the first one of the. There's a couple other characters that are different, but he's sort of he's a turtle as well, one of the turtle teams. So Rogue Robot with Metalhead gets 1 attack and defense for each active non-Metalhead turtle character. So there's a 3-4, a 4-5, and a 5-6. So he's a little bit chunky. Dissociative identity. When Metalhead attacks, other non-Metalhead characters cannot be blocked. So he's a good support character for the Turtles. But I think you can... I think like a full game you have 6 or 8 characters you can choose. So I think there's 10 characters in a set. So I think like if you're playing like a full game, like basically like one player would be the turtle characters, one guy would be the villain characters. But I think the number of cards you get to pick for a full game depends on like what difficulty or level you're playing. Upgrading the arsenal. When fielded, deal damage equal to Metalhead's attack to target villain die. Oh, so that's kind of nice. You just jump in and smack around some villains. Alright, we have a crocodile. This is obviously Leatherhead. Which version of Leatherhead? That's the question, right? I feel like I haven't, other than the actual turtles, I haven't got any other cartoon characters. The 80s. So this is from the Nickelodeon. Leatherhead, exposed to mutagen. He's a villain. When fielded, name a turtle character. That character cannot block this turn. Interesting. So when he's first played, you can stop someone from blocking. 3-5. Oh, for 0? I mean, he costs 5, but boy, that's nuts. Then he jumps to a 4-6 or a 5-7. Oh, he has some powerful stats there. Transmat Engineer. When fielded, turtle characters cannot block this turn. So there's kind of that difference there. When fielded, for 5 buy him for 5, when it's fielded, a character cannot block this turn. But if you use a 6th one instead, when fielded, none of them can block. So ideally, do you want to try and have the cheaper version that can only stop one, or do you want to maybe have to wait around to spend one more point? It's kind of that's an interesting dilemma for such close abilities. Guarantee. Oh, that's awesome. They put that in there. I don't know if he says it in this version or not, or if that's just the 80s version. When fielded, choose a turtle character, canceling all previous choices. When Leatherhead is active, that character cannot be purchased or fielded. Oh, that's crazy. So, basically, you spend 5, you buy him. He goes in your dice bag. You pull him out and you roll him, and then you get him. He only costs 3, 1, and 1, so he's cheap as hell to play, especially for these stats. And then you can be like, well, I have him out there. I'm going to choose Donatello. So now, the other player cannot buy or not just not play to attack, they can't even purchase the guy for a Donatello unless he's off the field. And then when he comes back in, you can choose something else. So that means if they only had one Donatello guy, and then you have him out there, in between him he gets KO'd, so oh well, he's off the field, they buy that Donatello, now you can turn around and be like, okay, well, I'm going to choose Raphael instead. Now you can't use his characters. Or you can still choose Donatello again. Then he wouldn't be able to use that dice that he did buy. Oh, that's nuts. That's almost unfair. Alright, then we have the stick lady, who I believe is Cry. Which I didn't realize she was such a thing until, because I knew she was in the IDW comic books. But I didn't know that she was in other stuff, and she was in the Nickelodeon. I don't think she was ever in the original 80s cartoon, but she could have later on. I'm working through that series, but it takes a while. 10 seasons. Cry, Dark Lineage. So she has a 3-1, 4-2, and 4-3. She kind of mirrors Leonardo a lot. With a high attack, low defense, which also costs pretty cheap. Well, Cry's active sidekicks cannot attack. So she stops the little basic pawn characters, and April right now. Cry, torn between two worlds. When fielded, you may KO target opposing sidekick. And Uneasy Allegiance. When Cry is active, your sidekick dice gain +1 attack and +1 defense. So she really works with the sidekicks. So she can either keep them from attacking, KOing them, or she can be like, you know what, instead of me hurting you guys, I'm going to give you all bonuses. So it's kind of neat, depending on what other characters you have played. If you're like, I'm going to have a bunch of characters that have sidekicks, again, if you played April, this might be helpful because you can boost up April. I'm sure the Foot Soldiers are also allies, like the Foot Clan. She's also not team affiliated, which is interesting. Alright, so we got 4 dice left, and clearly one Shredder, one's Foot, and one's someone else. So we're going to look at this guy that is a big giant metal mouth. My first thought was this is Kilowog from DC's Green Lanterns, but I know it's not. So let's see who that is supposed to be. Oh, it is Slash. See, I would never have guessed that, but it's also because it is Slash from the Nickelodeon cartoon. So I'm not as familiar with what he looks like. Special, let's see, he's all 5s, so he's opposite of the Turtles. They all cost 5, he's all a villain. Just kind of neat that they kept some of the symmetry there. A 0, a 1, and a 2. Alright. 3, 4, 5, 7. Interesting. Good stats. Wow, the villains are so abusive. Specimen 6. When Slash is blocked, deal damage equal to his attack to target opposing character guy that is not blocking him. So he gets blocked, and then he turns around and he smacks another character instead before damage is dealt. So he could potentially take out a second character. And it doesn't mean if they're unblocked or not. It's just be another character. That's crazy. Portal from Dimension X. When Slash is KO, deal damage equal to his level to target opponent. So it's 1, 2, or 3. But still, that's pretty nice. Just to do free damage, just because you lost. Never liked the name Spikes. That's a reference to the show, I'm assuming. When Slash is KO'd, deal damage to target opponent equal to the total energy in their reserved pool. So, that's actually kind of interesting too, because like, difference here is he gets KO'd, it's going to do 1 to 3 damage, no matter what. But that's it. And you don't necessarily really have a choice, because it's whichever version you rolled. Here though, total energy in the reserve pool. So this could be anywhere from potentially 0 to like whatever, depending on how much they have. So it's a lot more strategic to maybe let him die on certain terms if they have a lot of energy, where this one, it would just kind of be like, if he dies, he dies, you know? So that's cool. I think they're interesting abilities. Alright, we have the Foot. Obviously the Foot Clan, red and black. And then the Foot Clan are from the Mirage comics, which are kind of cool. So they're 3 cost. They are allies, and they also have Swarm, which I believe, and I'll look at the book in a second, but see, Swarm just means you can play multiple at the same time. Shinobi Jitsu. So 0, 0, and 1, but they're 1, 2, and so they're cheap, disposable foot soldiers. When fielded, while Shredder is active, draw a die and add it to your prep area. So awesome if you're playing with Shredder. Stick to the shadows. When 2 or more Foot Ninja character die you control attack at once, deal damage to target opponent equal to the number of attacking Foot Soldier die. Oh, that's cool. So if the more you get out, the more you can attack with. So I imagine if you're going to play the Foot Soldier, you're probably going to always use all 3 dice, so you have more of them out. Now this one just has Ally, but it doesn't have Swarm. And this one has Glass Jawed. When a Foot Ninja is KO'd, move a Foot Ninja from your use pile to the field zone at level 3. Oh, so that's pretty cool. So even if they do die, they're just replaced by another one. And at the highest level. Which, I mean, Cuckoo isn't much against, like a Slash or someone with a giant, or Leatherhead with some of them giant attacks. But still. Swarm. While a character guy's Swarm is active, you may draw another copy of that die from your bag during your clear and draw step. Draw and roll the extra die from your bag. You do this for each matching die with Swarm drawing from your bag. So basically that one was saying you play 1 Foot Soldier, and you can draw another one and play another one. If you have 3 of them, you can basically play all 3 Foot Soldiers in one turn. And here we have purple and gray. This is Shredder wearing some kick-ass sunglasses. No, not really. It's just Shredder. It's not Shredder in a raincoat, though, which is my favorite Shredder. So 6'6", and he has a giant 8. And he's a villain, of course. Oh, look at him stats. A 1, a 1, and a 2. A 4, a 6, or an 8. Oh boy, he's gonna wreck some of these turtles. When fielded, players must pay 1 life to activate a global ability. So I feel like the villains are a lot more, they have a lot higher stats, but like thematically it kind of makes sense because rarely do the turtle, like, the turtles don't generally go one-on-one with most of the bad guys. They team up. They're a team. So it kind of makes sense. It might take 2 turtles to take out Shredder or Leatherhead or Slash. One field players must pay 1 extra to play their abilities. Alright. Dining on Turtle Soup. When Shredder KOs an opposing non-villain character guy, that guy's controller loses 1 life. Because you can play villain versus villain. That's cool though. He wipes out some people, like you had him versus like Cry and the Foot Soldiers or something. And then False Bushido. When fielded, move all Foot Ninja dice and up to 2 sidekick dice from your use pile to the field zone at level 1. So this Shredder would work great with that 1 Foot Ninja. Which I can now not find. Yeah, so imagine if you have both of these. So you play these Foot Ninjas, and when you play them, they have that swarm. So you get to draw the dice and pull at the other 3, and they cost pretty cheap. And if you have Shredder, so it's fielded, move all Foot Ninja dice and up to 2 sidekicks die from your used pile to the field zone at level 1. And then you can turn around, and any ones that weren't out, you can play them pretty quick. And that's as well Shredder's activated, draw a die and act your preppers. So then you get an extra die as well. Like, it's a great synergy between 2 cards for a game like this. It's pretty cool. Alright, so that was Shredder. So our final guy, our final character is Johnny Cage. No, it's not Johnny Cage. That'd be silly. That's obviously Bruce Lee. No, who is that? That is Splinter. But it's not. It's Hamato Yoshi. That's why I didn't expect it, because I was expecting to see Splinter. So that's why this might be the second set. Hamato Yoshi, Protective Parent. So, oh boy, look at that defense. 2-7, 2-8, 3-9. So it doesn't have a high attack, but he can defend. When Hamato Yoshi blocks, deal half of its blocking character's attack. Deal half of the blocking character's attack rounded down to target opponent. So basically they attack. You can absorb most of it, and then you can shuffle it off onto someone else. That's cool. Unknowing Teacher. Character dice blocked by Hamato Yoshi deal their attack to themselves, in addition to normal combat damage. Oh boy, he straight up destroys people. And he doesn't have the turtle ability, which is kind of neat. Makes sense because he wasn't a turtle character yet. Shodashi. When Hamato Yoshi attacks, all opposing character dice must block. They may block normally, but they have to block. And then Global, you can pay 2 generic to deal 1 damage to target blocking character dice. So you can force them to block, then you can smack them for attacks. That's crazy. Alright, so then the last thing we have is what are called basic action cards. So, normally a game is played, like, each character picks 1 or 2 of these, and I think, like, the example game, they have 3 out. But then these go in the middle of the table or wherever, and then every player can access. So they have generic abilities, and they have their generic dice down here, so all the dice are going to look the same, and they have different costs, but they're all generic costs, so you don't need to roll dice. But, like, I can buy this card, my opponent can buy it, versus if I'm playing the Turtles and they're playing Shredder, I can only buy my Turtle cards, they can only buy Shredder. So those are kind of neat. So we have, from the Nickelodeon, of Haymaker. Target character gains 3 attack and Overcrush. Pay 1 fist, target character gets +1 attack. Oh boy. And so what happens when you get these die. If you roll it, you can get 2 generic energy to spend, so these are kind of nice. You can get more points quicker. Or if you roll 1 of these, then you can use the ability that matches that card that you have. So we have Ingenious Tactics. Prevent all combat damage to each of your attacking character die. Now imagine using that with that Hamato Yoshi. He attacks, everyone has to block, he does not take any damage. Like, if you could combine those, oh boy. Momentum. Roll any number of die from your prep area and then place them in your reserve pool. If you have 2 asterisks, also before selecting which die to roll, draw a die and place it in your prep area. Mutation. Swap target character guy from the field zone with a target non-psychic character in a player's use pile. Spin that character guy to level 1. This does not trigger when fielded effects. Oh, it's basically you can like swap out your characters. Ideally, it sounds like you probably want to do your own, but it doesn't sound like you can't do your opponents. Pay 1 mass, spin one of your character guys down 1 level to spin another one up a level. That's cool. Let me just some 80s cartoon ones. Mysterious Shredder Transport. Each player must sacrifice 1 character die. Just straight up mean. Nefarious Broadcast. Cancel any active effects of previously used global abilities. Global abilities cannot be used. Interesting. Speedy Delivery. Target character die must attack its next opportunity. Spin that character die up 1 level, if able. So again, you can use this on yourself, or you can use it on an opponent. You could force them to have to attack with someone. Pay an energy target character gets +1. Obviously, it sounds like you're going to use it more on yourself, but you wouldn't have to. Splinter's Teachings. Roll target character die from a use pile. If it rolls a character face, field it at no cost. Otherwise, place it in your bag. Imagine getting that with like one of them high-level characters. Oh boy. Global. Pay a shield. Swap the attack of target character die you control and target opposing character die. Awesome. Shredder dressed up. My favorite Shredders are when he cosplays. Reclaim. Move a die from your used pile to your prep area. And Unstable Canister. Deal 2 damage to target character, guy, or player. If you got 2 asterisks, deal extra damage to a character die equal to the level of your highest turtle character in the field zone. So this works better if you have turtles. Pay energy, deal 1 damage to target character die. So you can even play like a non-turtle deck. Have this card in there just because you could use the global ability if you wanted to, or this one 2 damage. Like you wouldn't have to use that turtle ability. So the way these guys work is that's what these colored cards are for. So you put these. So like this only has 4, so you can only have 4 at a time. Then so like one player brings in 2, the other player brings in 2. So what you do is you set this on the table like this, and now this is active with any of the red die. So that means if I roll a red, so if I buy this card for 3, I get one of the red dice, and then if I roll the ability for the red die to use it, the exclamation point, then I can use the red card. Same thing like if you had the orange one, whichever the orange one under, then you use the orange dice. And that's how you keep track of them being basic cards. That's actually a really interesting, like, cool mechanic. I believe that was everything in here, so we can put all the dice in there, and we're still gonna have plenty of room. I think it says it holds like 300 dice or something, which I don't think is correct. Maybe not these ones. I think the other ones you get for the regular turtles are 300. Yeah, so that is Heroes in a Half Shell. Check out the other video I will also be doing, which is the other turtle set. Yeah, life totals. You can buy those dice. I was just curious on global. Oh, here's an interesting thing. You must use a special power described if you roll it. So if you get them asterisks, you have to use them. Global abilities are effects that either player can use by paying the cost to activate them. So if you have a global effect, anyone can use that ability. Interesting. So, yeah, that's Ninja Turtles, Heroes in a Half Shell. Check out the other video. Maybe I'll try and do some other ones. Try and do some other Dicemaster videos. Maybe I'll try and do like a gameplay one at some point. But I would like to at least maybe show off some of the other dice, the other cards, and stuff. So I'll check you guys later. Bye. Alright, so we went through all the cards and cards. One last thing I wanted to go through is I just wanted to see what this would look like if I did it, if it worked. So, since they only have the 2 boxes for the turtles, and these came out a while ago, and since then they've added, like I said, like Warhammer and WWE, and they haven't made another turtle set. It doesn't sound like they're probably gonna make like another one coming out. If they did, that'd be awesome. But I just want to see, so if you bought both sets, you can fit everything into one box fairly conveniently. So you have your little play mats, you have your 2 instruction books. Now, again, depending on how much of a, I have to keep every single thing, is whether you need to keep both instruction books, because you can just figure out whichever one's, this one's probably more updated than the other one. And you could probably just keep that one. You wouldn't have to keep both. Same thing like these, if you didn't want to have all of these sitting in here, you wouldn't have to. But they do slide in here nice. There's a little lip right there. And that means the book fits nice too. But when you have a second book, it's going to get stacked on. So it kind of sits a little awkward in the middle because it's a little bit higher. But the box still closed just fine. It didn't like hold up the box. It wasn't that big of a deal. Otherwise, yeah, then you have this nice little cover, and then you have a second entire tray. So that means if they did release another set, it would almost be cool if they released 2. Then you could have like a Turtles box versus a Villains box. But yeah, everything I have so far fits in here. I put all the baggies in this one, and obviously I can fit more if I had to, or if you bought like your own, you could put a special bag in there. All the cards fit in here nicely. I did mention about sleeving them, and I know some people like this. I mean, I'm one of these people, I sleeve like every single card game I have, but you don't really need to with this game. You can, just to help protect them from being on the table, or if you're playing with kids and they're touching them and stuff. But otherwise, I don't know if it's really necessary, because you pick out like your 5 cards, your 6 cards, or they sit on the table and they sit there. The only other interaction they have is a guy will sit on top of them. So they look like they will accommodate sleeves just fine. So if you bought one box and you wanted to sleeve all your cards, I think you'd be fine. But if you bought, or if you keep them each in their own separate container, then they probably sleeve just fine. But if you put them all in one, if you sleeve them, it's not going to fit in here. It's going to stick out. Even with that said, I had to take all of the... I took all of the basic cards, including the little divider pieces, and I put them all in here. And again, you don't really need to keep 2 sets of each of these if you're playing one game, because you're only going to be able to use up to 4 at a time. But even that being said, you probably don't need this many of these guys, or this many of those. But I just stuck them in this little tray. I could stick them in here, but it's going to stick up way higher. And I did take out these ones and put them in there. It sticks up a little, like the top card or 2. Looked like it would slide. And this case, plastic case piece, might hold it in place. But I was like, rather than risking one card sliding around, I can just stick it in there. I can drop some dice on top of it. It'll help kind of push down and hold it down. Plus these dice here will hold it. Like I said, I put all the 2 bags of all the generic dice in here. And yes, if you kept this by itself, I'd probably be putting all of these in the 1/2 here, plus all this, which I kind of should have tried that first to see what that looked like. But I'm assuming this would definitely hold all of these, because you have to cut these dice in half, which would be about here. So I mean, there's probably enough dice. It might not even fill all this up. You might end up with extra holes if you didn't have both sets. I'm not sure. I don't know if there's enough pawn dice to fill up an entire side. What did it say? 92 dice per set. You get 10 per each side, so 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's, yeah. 70. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 70, 79. Yeah, so it might just, with these dice, you might just fill up this entire thing like that. So you probably could. Then you have giant open holes here. I did put the extra cards in here to begin with because there's no finger holes. What was happening was it fits in there. It can slide a bit, which is fine, but to get the bottom cards out, I had to like dig them out, which I didn't like. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, look at this. It holds all the different turtles and everything. So I put like all the turtles in a row. They're colored dice down there. I have all the Aprils. Here I have the 3 different Splinkers and Hamayoshi, Casey Jones. They're kind of like in-between characters. Metalhead, Rennick, Fugitoid, Slash, and Leatherhead. So I kind of kept the foot over here. Shredder, Crane, Bebop, Rocksteady. 2-foot soldiers, Cry, Baxter, Triceratons. And I just filled in with these extra dice here just so they didn't all slide around. So yeah, it's really nice. You buy both sets. One case will hold all of them, so you don't have to have 2 boxes sitting around. But ideal, you could if you want. You want to sleeve your cards, you want to put all these in there. Or now I have an extra separate tray I could use for if you end up buying like a handful of other Marvel or DC sets. One thing I don't like is maybe I don't understand how this works, but like I need to take the dice out. I mean, they don't come out too bad if you're full, kind of slide them up, but like, of course now I can do it without a problem. Like earlier, here's the problem. I couldn't get these dice out. So I was trying to go this way. Like these will kind of flip out a little bit, but like, these dice on the bottom are a little bit harder to get out. They're not too bad this direction, but yeah, I was trying this way. I was just struggling. Yeah, so that's the Ninja Turtles Dicemasters. Yeah, I fixed in there nice. You did the test. You put the top on, hold it down, flip it. Nothing came out, which is really nice. Again, these cards are going to slide a little bit, but you can't do much about that. I still don't know if I would put this in my, even with that case and everything, I still think I would store it this direction. I don't think I would store it up, because all it would take is just top to loosen just enough, and that inner case thing just to loosen slightly, and then everything's gonna fall out, and then you're gonna have a gross box full of stuff. Alright, so that's the 2 different turtle sets. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you do, tell me in the comments if there's some of the other sets you might like to see. Maybe I'll try and buy some other boosters or whatnot. See you guys later. Bye.